Hey everyone, before I get started, I just want to remind you that if you like my content, hit that like button, subscribe to my channel, and then join the Militia Man and Crew Patreon community by clicking the link in the caption. Hey, good evening everybody. Militia Man and Crew, I just want to say hello and hope everybody had a great weekend. We had a great one here in the Northwest, and everything, as you know, weather changes, it's cooling down, getting ready for the holidays, and it's an exciting time to be invested in the Iraqi dinar. And also other things. As we all know that in Militia Man and Crew, we offer some news on or information on other things, and I think you guys know that XRP was one of those items, and subsequently there'll probably be more to come, because I think that venue that people will see has direction, and I mean by that is Iraq has digital transformation going on, and as does the world. So probably not going to cover that too much tonight, but the one thing I want to say is keep those things in mind, because that information that we study, I usually bring out things that I believe in. I mean, I would say I believe in the dynamics of it. I don't necessarily condone every cryptocurrency out there or anything like that, but the Iraqi dinar has been our study, and it still is. I bring up XRPs because I believe there's going to be a relationship with cross-border payments, and Iraq's going to be involved in that. And we've shown that throughout the last year or so, that's probably going to be the case. Whether it turns out that way, we're going to find out. But so far, so good. You see the articles that support that within the last few months, Iraq has had digital transformation forums and venues, etc. And interestingly enough, JP Morgan Chase is invoked in those. So keep an open mind. And if you read the articles, you'll see that I have snippets. A lot of people like those. Those are helpful because it basically supports why I do what I do and why Militia Man and Crew do what we do. Our Samson, our news hound, she just smokes when it comes to getting the news to us on a regular basis and consistently. Each and every day. Her track record is phenomenal. And thank you very much, Samson. You're a peach. Our members, Pompey Peter, our crew, our other members, Petra, all come in and share their thoughts and views and audios, etc. It's been a few days or weeks, I guess, since the three of us or four of us have had conversations with you guys, and we'll see if we can pick one up here shortly for you guys. So, but in the meantime, let's get to al-Sudani. Al-Sudani has been on a tear, as I put it, because what has he been doing? He's been doing for over 2 years, he's been doing methodically nothing but achievements. And obviously, this article is interesting because it says the government's commitment to the directives of the religious reference related to 3 basic files. So the Prime Minister, Shia al-Sudani, renewed his government's commitment to the basic principles contained in the religious reference statement on combating corruption, limiting weapons, preventing foreign interventions. So why did he bring that up today? Well, it's been somewhat of a directive from the Grand Ayatollah al-Sistani, and he wants to have no corruption. So these new platforms that we're going to be talking about, digital transformation, is basically one of those things that creates an environment where there's very little, and if there is, they'll know it, and they'll know quite well. So he's basically stating that he's adhering to the basic principles contained in the statements from the Supreme Religious Authority, especially regarding the combating of corruption, and again, limiting those weapons and preventing interventions from outside forces. So we have to just take that seriously. Al-Sudani obviously wouldn't be talking about it if it wasn't serious. As you guys all know, that Iraq's going through a time where they're going to have the census, and that census is going to be on the 20th and the 21st, according to some data. Some data suggests that in the Kurdistan region, they started on the 15th in the process, and the 15th was a few days ago. So Keep that in mind, but yet the 20th and the 21st of this month is the dates that they reflect, but they also said on the 15th that certain portions of the country were going to be effectively ongoing through the 15th through the 24th. Well, the 21st is 3 days before that. So ultimately, what are they going to tell you too? They do specifically tell us that this new electronic GIS system that they have is important. So keep that in mind. It says the population census will be electronic in its details. As a result, this represents an addition and a qualitative shift in conducting the census, which will greatly benefit the people. Why? Because it has speed and far-reaching results. The accuracy of the data is going to be highly important. The speed of its transmission is going to be important. So it's like they're on the ground using tablets or whatever they use to input data, and they will take that data, immediately upload to the cloud, if you will, and it's going to be pretty much instantaneous. So the accuracy of that data, the speed of its transmission, its security, its reliability at a high level of security, and cybersecurity. So they want to protect the data. That's what they're going to do. And in an electronic environment, they have the ability to do that. They have artificial intelligence, they have machine learning, they have all the things, the tools modern countries have and have had. And realize too, when I talked about JP Morgan at the beginning of it, they're involved. Remember that the Article 4 consultation that we showed with links and everything in patreon.com/MM&C-Crew, okay? They have that data that shows that they are involved, and that's powerful. Okay, it says that this census will be conducted again on the 20th, 21st, and their preliminary results will be right there on and around within 24 hours. And of course, the other functions of the process could take a couple of months. The final results might take some time. Okay, it is basically interesting because they do have a service that's oriented with this whole development goal that they have that will not entail just tax procedures or social protection or any other detail, but they're working on counting the people accordingly, no politics involved, etc. They're just going to do an account of where you live, how many people are in their households. They're going to be shut down for the 20th and the 21st so that they can count people. And I think they're going to be doing a very professional job, and it's going to be highly important. And I think the citizens have been forewarned that they need to tell the truth. And there might be repercussions if you don't. So anyway, the planning confirms adoption of a global system for collecting census data and explains its advantages. It says, so again, it says Iraq is now witnessing political and administrative stability and an atmosphere that matters. And it's completely prepared to conduct this population census. So in my view, they've already started in certain portions, but the key point is that what they're telling us is that the 20th and the 21st is where they're going to do it. Remember, you guys, that they had 40 million cards, national cards issued, biometrics, all of that stuff. And I believe that when they're going out to all these people's homes, with hundreds of thousands of people, I guess, collectively to do this, including hired people, you know, whether they're on the government dole with the military or whatever, but they're taking it seriously, and they're going to do this so that they can have an accurate account. Now remember that there was a subjective data that was coming from Kurdistan region about how many employees are out there, the salaries, etc. So take that into consideration. But al-Sudani has basically stated that he wants to have a powerful and a accurate setup so that when they do their 2024 budget, 2025 budget, they have accurate numbers. So to have accurate numbers, basically the Geographic Information System, which is called that GIS, has and will be used, which is one of the most brilliant and large systems in dealing with data and information, and it works to give a digital face to the census, a digital face. You can take that two different ways. It's happening real time, digitally, upload to the cloud, digital face, meaning that the biometric systems, those 40 million cards, are all about biometrics. They want to make sure everybody is who they are. They really want an accurate census, which is fascinating. Personally, I thought they were working to that degree because these biometric cards weren't new. And so it seemed that they would have already done it, but they hadn't. So is it a coincidence? Maybe. A lot of people, kudos on you guys that said, hey, look, we told you, we told you. Well, maybe you did. But the bottom line is that isn't really the point. The point is it getting done? Yes. Are they going to have an accurate census? Sounds like it. Is that going to be a component to help get to the exposure of the 2024 tripartite budget portion for that investment side? I believe so. You have an article out today that you're going to find out that the President, Rashid, spoke with the Supreme Judicial Council today. And why? They don't tell you why. That's okay. But the bottom line, they did. And so all of these things you're going to find that have interesting concepts, but anyway, they just like to they like to talk about this, and they have. It says the census results will be out within hours. Well, I think they give it a little bit better of a time frame, which is approximately a 24-hour time frame. But it says the benefit of the digital census is that it will determine the geographical location of the head of household. So they're key on that. And I think in their culture is that the head of the household is the one that controls a lot of their money. Okay. It says basically the population census led to a great importance in overcoming obstacles by providing the requirements for the success of the census. So they really have taken some time to get this to be an accurate census. It's going to be somewhat far more reliant. I think it's going to be in a situation where there's no question. So, for instance, if you just did the biometric cards and you did, say, for instance, if you funded the HCL or if you did any of those things, it could have questions about it. But here in this case, they are at that stage where there's not going to be a question because they do have the biometrics, they do have those cards, but now they're going to take it to another level and say that we just do it, we're doing this to international standards. So nobody can come back. So all those ghost employees, all those excess salaries that were involved, they're going to go to the wayside. They're going to have an accurate count of where the money is going because each and every one of the citizens is going to get a component of their constitutional rights, and they've been talking about those constitutional rights. Okay, it says, here's another one. It says, news outlets investigates the reasons behind the delay in the sending the Iraqi general budget tables to 2025. Remember, I told you this, that they said that they had to have accounts from, well, they say from 23 and 24 have to be set up for the 25 tables to be even reviewed. So we need to see what was 23 and 24 done, and are they going to open and expose that to the people? That's why I brought up Rashid and the judiciary, because those guys are the ones that have the authority to put that information into the public realm, into the Gazette, for instance. So think about it. They're basically giving you some heads up. It says, we all know that countries around the world have their general financial budgets on January 1st. And then what they're saying here in this article is that Iraq has been lagging in that. And I think now Iraq is about ready to change that and get it taken care of. And one of the components after this piece is a long one, but the bottom line is that the member of this finance committee in the Iraqi Council of Representatives, he goes on to say that the government had to send the budget tables, especially since this budget does not include texts and formulations, except for Article 12, Section C, which includes recalculating the costs of producing and transporting crude oil from Kurdistan region, and with new figures reaching about $16 a barrel. So they had to change that. They had problems with it. We all know that oil did not go out of the Cyan port since March of 2023. That's a long time. They're losing a lot of money. And I think that's one of the biggest motivating factors at this stage of the game, is that they need to fix that, they need to get back on track, and they need to do it appropriately with respect to the constitutional rights of the citizens. It says, he goes and says the explanation is that justification for not sending the budget tables is that the Article 12 must be amended to enable the government to send the budget tables. Given the amending Article 12 will affect, amending of the Article 12 will affect the results of the operational figures. That's the payments to the citizens. Operational is salaries. It's the amounts, the calculations. Okay, it says here that at the end of this speech from Al-Kadhimi, in the event the tables are not sent, the 2024 expenditures can be approved and spending continues, considering that the budget is a 3-year budget, but this change in Amendment 2, the Amendment to Article C, or second, is what made it obligatory for the government to amend this article, and the House of Representatives needs to ratify it. And then send the budget tables on so that they can put it for the 2025 budget, 3-year budget. Remember that? Okay. So ultimately, the Council of Ministers, they did approve the amend. They did. And there's articles that support that. On the 5th of November, 2024, and on the 13th of November, it was approved by the Council of Ministers. The text of the proposed amendment to Article 12 had 3 components to it. Whether or not the House of Representatives have yet to ratify it is to be determined. We're going to find that out. But accordingly, if it's not done yet by this next week, we'll see. We're going to find out. So ultimately, when they say that they've gone over, there's like 3 different items that they have that are lengthy, but they have that on their table because the COM actually has agreed to check it out. Then they came up with 3 items subsequently to be able to put out that not only did we approve getting those, the ability to do that, they come up with those 3 items and then they approved it. So now it would be in the House of Representatives ballpark. And so they haven't discussed it, but we've been told that they were going to have an extension to their parliamentary session. And so, again, could they have done it already? They could have. Are they going to do it this weekend? Possibly. Could that be as early as Sunday? It could be. But again, they're kind of vague, and that's because this is a very sensitive time for Iraq. So let's see what they do. But here the President of the Republic meets with the head Supreme Judicial Council, like I mentioned. His name is Abdul Latif Jamal Rashid, met today with the Supreme Judicial Council Judge Dr. Faik Sedain, and basically they have a presidential statement that during the meeting a number of judicial legal files related to public affairs were discussed. Well, what's on the table right now? Well, the budget amendment for 2024. Definitely. Okay, remember that 4782 that was in the Gazette that they just haven't finished publishing yet? That was around the time that they were talking about this. So subsequently, do they add something different in the next few days? Could they add it this weekend? Sure. When do they usually publish? They have published on, I believe they are Wednesdays, Saturdays, and Mondays. So we'll see how they do that. The foreign minister discusses bilateral relations and future prospects with the U.S. ambassador. So in brief, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Fahad Hussein, Deputy Prime Minister, and the ambassador to the United States of America, Alina Romanowski, they all discussed the results of the U.S. elections and some niceties expected of the U.S. administration. But they both sides stressed the necessity of continuing good cooperation with the 2 countries and strengthening the partnership to serve common interests. So they don't really get into the details. Here's another one that doesn't necessarily get into the details, but it says Al-Mashandani, he's the new Speaker of the House of Representatives. He says, we support legal agreements between Baghdad and Kurdistan. And that's where a lot of this stuff is happening, is that Baghdad and Kurdistan need to be on the same page. They need to localize salaries, remember that? So lots of stuff happening. It says the media office of the HOR, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, received today the head of the Kurdistan Regional Government's representation in Baghdad, and his last name is, well, his name is Abdul Karim. It says the statement indicates that the Speaker of the House of Representatives discussed ways to develop relations between the institutions and the center in the region to overcome previous obstacles and overcome problems, reaching an agreement on points of disagreement with the legislative and legal frameworks, and in a way that defines the constitutional rights of the citizens and the duties also of the center and the region. So they're constantly, they're bringing this stuff up, but they're being vague. It's interesting. So on a sidebar, on a different note, the Turkish trade minister has shown up. There's an article here. It says Turkish trade minister confirms his country's keenness to participate in the development road project through its investors. So they're wanting to get the movement of going. Come on, Iraq, let's go. It says here that the trade minister, Omar Balat, confirmed that his country supports Iraq in the development road project and that Ankara looks forward to completing the project by 2030. So it's like, we have to get this started. We have to get going. It's a long process. There's a lot of work to get done, but they need to get it started ASAP. They're talking about the importance of the development road project. What do they say? It's not just a highway or a railway. It's a development vision and a modernization project for Iraq. So Turkey is totally invested in this and wants to be. They've spent billions already, and they're going to do probably more. The development road project is going to be worth about $17 billion, and I'm pretty sure that doesn't even include the Port of Fa. And the Port of Fa just finished 5 berths. For what? Bringing in commercial shipping. It's going to change the fabric of this whole Middle East to some degree. And to a large degree, the effects are going to be global because of the nature of saving time and money to get product through Iraq into Turkey and into Europe. It's that simple. And we're talking about a lot of different products. It says, we follow with admiration the economic renaissance that Iraq's been going through. It's increasing economic stability in the recent years, and we support it. We have excellent relationships in all fields, including the economy, defense, security, energy, trade, tourism, and the list goes on. Investment, logistics services. This is today, you guys. Basically, they're praising the mutual calls for investment between Turkish and the Iraqi businessmen. So look, they're all stating basically they're ready to go. They say they appreciate the support, all the efforts that they've made in the development road project to date, and they're behind them. They wouldn't be having these conversations if they weren't. Interestingly enough, I didn't really get into this today, and maybe I missed it yesterday or late last night, but they say right now that over 1,000 trucks have been stranded at the Turkish border. But yet you have the Turkish minister in Iraq for a couple of days praising everything. But yet, for some reason, over 1,000 trucks were stranded at the Turkish border till today. So it says here, Turkish authorities have stopped the trucks from crossing into the Kurdistan region through the Ibrahim Khalil border, creating a severe transportation crisis. Okay, why wouldn't they let those trucks back in? I don't know. But it says the Turkish authorities have stopped the trucks from crossing into Kurdistan region through the border, creating a severe transportation crisis. They go on and add that 1,000 trucks carrying goods have been stuck for 3 days. 3 days. It's amazing, right? Well, how are you going to shut down the commercial aspect of the borders and for what reason. They don't necessarily say. So hopefully that they'll have this issue cleared when the time's right. Obviously, I can't imagine it can't be taking too long. Thousands of trucks, that's a lot of goods and services and commercial commerce that's just sitting there. Something's up. Basically, these guys that are arguing about this or talking about it say the situation has become exhausting for both the drivers and the commercial companies. And you have to think, well, why? Why now? Is there something that's happening? Well, you think about it for a minute. If something's going to change, and especially when it comes to money, everybody needs to be on the same page. And if it's an electronic system, they can't be doing cross-border transactions and obviously have an environment where all of the fees and etc., taxes and customs change dramatically. So anyway, on another note, Parliamentary Finance Committee discusses the Islamic banking law and with the British institution. Now this is going to be, maybe it'll just take me a couple of minutes to get through it, but I want you to follow along here. It says here that the Parliamentary Finance Chairman meets delegation with the British Embassy, and that was on yesterday. The Parliamentary Finance Committee discussed with the British Adam Smith Foundation the Islamic banking law. So there's going to be a couple of laws that we're going to get to in brief, but the Islamic banking law, and we're going to talk about the securities law. These laws are already in place. The Islamic banking law, you can Google it. You can find out that what I'm saying is accurate. I have some snippets that I have reflect that fact. And obviously the securities law, that's having to do with the stock exchange. Those things are on the table right now. What are they about? They're about protecting the investors and the citizens, okay? And that is powerful because they've already have it on the books, but they're talking about it now, today. It says, or it could have been yesterday. Yeah, I'm sorry, it was yesterday. It says the Cash Revenue Distribution Monetary Authority law, which is scheduled to be presented for discussion in the upcoming parliamentary sessions. It says the issue of enhancing non-oil revenues, such as taxes and customs, and focus on the importance of developing their activity and applying electronic automation with the aim of achieving qualitative shift in the Iraqi economy and reducing dependence on oil as a primary source of income through diversifying the economy and achieving self-sufficiency. So you said this is what they're talking about. They're talking about the taxes and customs, and what did you have? You have 1,000 trucks stranded. For what? Something's going to change. If they're really they want to enhance those non-oil revenues, why would you stop trade? I don't know. So I got a good idea. But anyway, it says the importance of strengthening the bilateral relations, exchanging expertise between the two countries. It says there's a need to study the international experiences and their compatibility with the local reality. And they want to what? They want to link them to the requirements of the private sector. So you can see how everything's kind of becoming intertwined. So you have commercial aspects, you have industrial aspects, you have trade aspects, and you have customs and taxes. All of those things coming together, and they halt the trucks. I think that's a very telling thing. So I think the importance of it is what they're trying to get is that they need to have provided necessary technical support to contribute to implementing the new legislation in a way that serves everyone and enhances the stock market. Okay, but they've already done all that. But that's what they're telling us, and they basically they organized a meeting again in the future to visit London, examine closely the work that these mechanisms will have an effect. And the Adam Smith Foundation has an aim to be part of those process, exchanging ideas, making sure everybody's on the same page. It's really interesting, you guys. The timing of this is phenomenal. And so here, there's an article out today that's going to try to tie this in, which is the deletion of the zeros and evaluate the dinar. And have they talked about this before? They surely have. They've talked about it before. And here's this gentleman, his name is Ali Daosh, and he goes on and says in a newspaper column from a while ago, they explained the concept of deleting the zeros. And today they're going to be talking about the concept of currency revaluation, which means a calculated upward adjustment of a country's official exchange rate relative to a chosen baseline, which can conclude, wage rates, the price of gold, for instance, or specific foreign currency. And revaluation is the opposite of devaluation. And they go on to say that, so for instance, a fixed rate system, which Iraq has followed, only a decision from the state, which is a central bank, can change the official exchange rate of a currency. So nobody else can do that. Al-Sudani doesn't do it. Nobody, finance ministry doesn't do it. It is the central bank can change the official exchange rate currency. Okay, so developing economies are likely to use a fixed exchange rate system as opposed to, for instance, a flexible exchange rate system. So revaluation occurs on a regular basis throughout a flexible exchange rate. So when you watch live charts, for instance, you'll see it fluctuates. But in the case of a fixed system, it just basically says like they are 1310, for instance. But in the future, if they were to stay fixed and not be a flexible, which I believe they probably will be, it doesn't fluctuate. Okay, so basically a flexible exchange rate system revaluation occurs on a regular basis as evidenced by the noticeable fluctuations, like I just mentioned, in foreign exchange markets and associated exchange rates. So why are they bringing this up? It's interesting. I think it's an educational thing. I think that people need to know what options are out there. They need to know the reasoning behind it. So this particular article supports the fact that they're openly educating the citizens as we speak, as early as today this article comes out. How long have they been talking about it? Have they been doing this for a long period of time? Are they doing it in the background and not being very vocal about it every day? Those are possible. But here it says the decision to revalue a domestic currency affects the economy as a whole, as it affects both the currency being examined and the valuation of assets held by foreign companies. So foreign companies holding assets, that in particular currency. Okay, so since a revaluation has the potential to change the exchange rate between two countries and their currencies, book values of assets held abroad may have to be adjusted to reflect the effect of the change in the exchange rate. So companies have to have an adjustment as well to the value of their ownership in, for instance, the Iraqi Stock Exchange. For example, it says, suppose a foreign government has 10 units of its currency to equal $1 US. To revalue its currency, the government might change the rate to 5 units per dollar, making its currency twice as expensive when valued in US dollars as it was before. It says, if the above-mentioned currency revaluation occurs and assets held by US corporations in the foreign economy must be revalued. If the value of the asset held in a foreign currency was previously valued at, say, $100,000 based on the old exchange rate, the revaluation requires a change of $200,000 to equate to. This change reflects the new value of the foreign asset in the local currency by adjusting the revaluation of the relevant currency. Just like no different than it did when it was at $14.50 and they changed it to $1,300. That's a revaluation. Okay. So basically here, look, here's a snippet. It says a Parliamentary Finance Committee discusses the Islamic banking law with the British institution. Okay, so they're talking about the securities law and also the Islamic banking law and the importance of it. But here it says the book value of assets in a currency revaluation process refers to that recorded value of companies' assets on its balance sheet based on their original cost minus accumulated depreciation, and which will need to be adjusted to reflect the new value of their currency exchange rates. Essentially, updating the value of the foreign assets held by the company to reflect the current market rate. That's what that means. So here it says key points to keep in mind. Accounting basis. The book value is listed on the company's balance sheet, not necessarily the current market value, but the book value. Impact of exchange rate. When a company holds assets in a foreign currency, a change in the exchange rate can significantly impact the book value of those assets in company's reporting currency. Think about this, you guys. Adjustment process. During a currency revaluation, companies need to recalculate the book value of their foreign assets using the current exchange rate, accurately reflect their value on that balance sheet. Okay, they give examples, but we already did that. So the next law was it was actually the first law in the order, but that's okay. Iraqi securities law includes the Securities Commission, ISC, and the Iraqi investment law. So here's some key points. Iraqi Securities Commission. It was established back in 2004, so we know that's been around for a while, so it's real. Iraqi investment law. This law offers incentives to foreign investors, including trading, repatriation. So as far as trading is concerned, it says foreign investors can trade in shares and securities on the Iraqi stock exchange. Repatriation. Investors can repatriate their capital and proceeds after paying taxes and debts. Okay, so that reeks of freedom of capital movement, doesn't it? Which is what? An Article 8 compliance effect. Exemptions. Investors may be exempt from taxes, import duties, and fees for certain materials, if that's what they choose to allow. It says membership investors can become members of the private and mixed stock companies. Investors can rent and lease land, for instance, for up to 50 years in Iraq. Insurance. Investors can insure their project within any insurance company they choose, so it's given them freedoms. Investors can open accounts in Iraqi or foreign currency at any bank. Okay? The law also requires that at least 50% of an investment project workers be Iraqi nationals. So they have give and take. Okay? So they make concessions for both sides. It's awesome. So here is interesting, back to that Islamic banking law. What are they doing? They're protecting people. It says Islamic banks can invest funds, activities, open branches, and participate in projects. It says they have activities that are prohibited. It says Islamic banks cannot deal with interest, issue savings accounts, or fund foreign currencies. Capital requirements, they have to have upfront capital must be at least 250 billion dinars, 100 billion dinars paid upon establishment. So they have rules. Compliance. Islamic banks must comply with the provisions of companies laws number 21 of 1997, So ultimately what I just got through telling you is that they're focusing in on, with the British, at the British Embassy with Iraq, is about those two laws. And they're having dialogue, whether it was in Iraq or if it was in Baghdad today, it doesn't make much difference. But the bottom line is that they're talking about that these things are on the table now. So why I bring up, they're talking about revaluation of a currency, educating the citizens. Why are we talking about the British Embassy with Iraq talking about two specific laws? Islamic law, protect the citizens, and the securities law, protecting investors and making sure everybody knows what's going on. So those are the things that we've had in the news today, you guys. But for them to be talking about the education, I think is a big deal. I think the census of having fair acknowledgement of where Iraq is with the sheer numbers, because when they change the value of their currency, it's going to affect the citizens. It's not only going to affect the citizens, it's going to affect anybody and everybody that's involved in Iraq. So your stock account, for instance, if you're holding the ISX stocks and you're into a bunch of banks, or if you're into sulfur or mining stocks or any of those things, they're going to have those companies that have access or have ownership of currency, and they have ownership of stock shares in their stock accounts. They have to adjust those accordingly when that change happens. And that's what they're talking about. And I think you guys really should know that how close this is, because why would they be talking about this now when it wouldn't be necessary? They would be absolutely 100% talking about it now because they want to make sure everybody knows what's happening. And they, without saying what's happening, that's how it works. And it's brilliant, it's fascinating to watch, and I hope everybody kind of gets a picture of where I'm coming from. Because if in fact that we have a revaluation of the Iraqi dinar, a lot of things are going to change. And a lot of people need to have at least a plausible deniability, let's say at the central bank, for not, if they didn't get that information out, they could have some problems. But they've openly exposed the education system. They've talked about the delete the zeros forever. They're talking about the Islamic banking law. They're talking about the securities law. And they're talking about with some of the largest money institutions in the world. And Britain has one big one. Okay, same with the United States of America, because they use an example for the United States. So take it seriously, enjoy. It's exciting. I really think so. I think it's powerful, you guys, that we're here watching this unfold. So, hey, have a good evening. Enjoy your night, and we'll talk to you soon. And please, by the way, if you enjoy our content, hey, hit the subscribe button. And thanks so much for being with us. We appreciate it, and have a great evening. Once again, guys, don't forget to hit that like button if you like this content, subscribe to the channel, or join us at the Militia Man and Crew Patreon community for even more exclusive content. You can also donate to this channel by hitting the links in the banner to help keep this page up and running. Your generous support is greatly appreciated, as always. Much appreciated. Thank you so much, and have a great day.